Good morning. My name is Monica Wahlberg, and I am the Director of Development of the River Food Pantry. And thank you so much to Emily for inviting the river here and for me to be able to come and share some updates of what's happening at the River Food Pantry. I always like to ask, who has been to the river at some point? Was that pre-COVID or post-COVID? All right. We have a number of updates even since then. Um, I hear that you all really support St. Mark's, which is a local food pantry. One of the great things about the Madison community is that we have so many really amazing neighborhoods and communities that support. So whether it's a local food pantry like St. Mark's, a regional food pantry such as the River, Badger Prairie Needs Network, which is kind of this central west side, Way Forward, which it used to be Mom over more Middleton west side, Verona's food pantry, McFarland's food pantry. Once upon a time, we had all these food pantries that really were serving people geographically. And in 2006, so hard to believe, 19 years ago, the North Side did not have a food pantry. And our founders started having communal dinners to bring community, build community in that area. And they really found that what the community really needed was a food pantry. And so they created the River in order to serve those in that region. And then over the years, we have just grown. And even pre-COVID, we were starting to really see people from a greater Madison area even stopping in because each food pantry serves their community in a slightly different way. The River likes to try to answer the question, how are people not getting food? So we have developed all of our programs by trying to really answer that question. And Sunshine House in Sun Prairie and, Way Forward, they answer that question in a slightly different way because some of them also incorporate housing needs into. If you don't have secure housing, then you're almost guaranteed to have food insecurity. We try to stick a little closer to food and try to answer all of that. And I'll walk through the programs today. Now, as we're going, if you've got questions about a particular program, speak up, because this isn't necessarily a lecture, it's a conversation, all right? So one of the things that the River really takes note is in Madison, there are a number of food access improvement areas, otherwise known as food deserts. These are areas in the city that the residents do not have access to adequate nutritional food. This does not count, or I should say, the quick marts that have candy and fast food and bags of chips at the corner mart gas station. They don't count. That's not necessarily fresh produce of things. Now, what you'll notice is this empty box here, that's the airport. So what you're really seeing is east and west of the airport and north and south of the Beltline. Those drive-through areas where you say, oh, that's all industrial. People still live in those areas, and it's very challenging. And because of how the Beltline cuts through there, a lot of times there might be a grocery store on one side, but it's very difficult. You can't walk across the Beltline. So we have found that a good number of our clients come from these areas. as well. And we try to figure out how to serve those areas. 7 years ago or so, pre-COVID, maybe 10 years ago, on average, we were serving 500 families, maybe 900 to 1,000 individuals a week. Now, a client must go online or come to our facility, come in line, and register in order to receive food. And it is self-verified, so they must fill out the form, demographics, address, how many are in their household, and then they have to self-verify that they are below the federal poverty line. It is very challenging to verify that. We don't. Honestly, I don't care, right? Are you hungry? Pop your trunk. We got food. We're going to get you in and out. That is our mission, is to nourish our neighbors and make sure that we have a stronger community because of it. But nowadays, we're serving over 3,000 people. Last week, I grabbed the numbers. Actually, this now would be from 2 weeks ago. We served 1,244 families, households, and that totaled 3,042 individuals. For our meal program, we served 2,365 meals, to-go meals. We had 44 new households. Now, a client is able to come once a week. However, on average, because, grants and all of that are all about metrics, so we try to keep as much as possible, we are still averaging unique households per year 7 times a year that a household on average comes to the river. That's not once a week. That's not even once a month. People are only coming when they truly feel that they need it. There is enough of a stigma still about going to a food pantry that they're not abusing the system. That is one of the questions we often receive is, well, aren't people just going to your food pantry once a week and then they're going to another food pantry and they're stockpiling? And no. And the few people that maybe are multiple dipping, so be it. It might be grandma who has 3 people or 4 people registered in her household, but she's also serving the whole neighborhood of kids that come to her house. Or she's serving the greater family and will have Sunday dinner for 20 people, So people are still getting fed, and that's the point. So we are not necessarily the largest, but we are the busiest food pantry in South Central Wisconsin. More than just Madison, we do serve all of Dane County, which means we also have people that are coming from Marshall and Belleville and Mazomanie to our food pantry. Please.
Being large and being busy. I'm not sure I get the distinction between being large and being busy.
Yeah, well, so for example, we'll take the food, Second Harvest is a food bank, and they serve 16 counties in our area. Food banks serve food pantries, and food pantries serve people. So food banks do not directly give food to food pantries. There are other food pantries outside of Dane County in our area that for their population may be larger than the river is. But they don't have the numbers, they don't have the traffic flow that we see. So we serve the most people coming through, which also makes us Second Harvest's largest partner. So to kind of clarify some of those things, people say, well, I give to Second Harvest. So great, keep giving to Second Harvest. If you feel like you have a little extra to give to your local food pantry too. Second Harvest, as a food pantry, we are able to order from our food bank at either for free or for a reduced cost, so kind of below wholesale cost. That's getting harder and harder. Last year, we used to be able to order milk and eggs from Second Harvest for the numbers that we were seeing each week for free. They drop it off or we'd pick it up. We were told by the end of last year that we would no longer be able to get it for free. We could buy it at wholesale price. So our Giving Tuesday campaign, Tuesday after Thanksgiving, went towards milk and eggs. And we were so thrilled. We raised over $63,000 between donations and a match. And we figured, we're set. We'll be able to give a half gallon to most households, maybe even a gallon to larger households, and a dozen eggs. Well, that wasn't taking into account that numbers would continue to rise. The beginning of last year, we were averaging 2,000 people. Mid-year, we changed all of our material and said, well, it's creeping up to 2,500. Now we're seeing on average 3,000 or more individuals a week. So our Giving Tuesday numbers aren't going quite as far. We're still trying to give a half gallon of milk out. We've cut back to a half dozen of eggs. And there are still some weeks where we run out. We can't get all of it through Second Harvest. We have to supplement by purchasing it from other vendors as well. So everywhere are seeing these type of numbers increase. It's not just the river. If you ask any of the kind of major 6 food pantries and even your more local neighborhood food pantries, we're all seeing the need increase. To the point, I'd like to just insert that Way Forward took the initiative beginning of last year. If any of you get the State Journal, you might have seen 2 different pieces. One was earlier in the year. They asked the 6 main food pantries to average their numbers over 3 years. Post-pandemic numbers. We're not talking about during the pandemic. This is since the pandemic. What we found was that we were seeing 112% increase. So a lot of people said, well, the pandemic makes sense, numbers went up, things are going to even out. People will go back to work, things will go back to normal. We're in a new normal. We have found, even since last year, we've increased by 19%. This was our 24 community impact numbers. This is just a 19% increase over last year. So again, we say, okay, how do we feed all these people? The primary program we have is curbside. So once upon a time, people used to come into the food pantry and they could shop. They go through the shelves, get a bag, and shop for their families. During the pandemic, we had to think on our feet and figure out what was the safest way for people to get groceries. And so we did a drive-through. We have 2 lines. One is an everything line. Drive up, pop your trunk, open your side door, give me what you got today. The other one is a choice line, because we feel that choice equals respect. When we go to the grocery store, we can choose what we want. And if you're tired of tuna, it's okay to say no to getting 3 more cans of tuna. Common food pantry staple. We have up to a household of 4 and then 5 or more. So a family of 5 or more can have a few more items than a standard. We try to be thoughtful as far as what goes on the menu so that it is ingredients for menu planning, so that you're not getting random food pantry supplies, that it's going to be really creative to actually put a dinner together for this. Which means some of our food then is purchased. So whether it's from Second Harvest, whether we take it out of grants. One of my favorite stories is for our holiday meals, Hope, Help Other People Eat in the fall. And we had all of this canned pie filling. People said, well, people can get creative with their holiday meals and they can do something with this pie filling. And they said, no, people are going to want to make pies. When you are going through food insecurity, that's not the only thing that you're dealing with. You're dealing with a host of other stressors. And when you have that chronic stress, thinking creatively is not perhaps your strong suit. They are having to think creatively on basic needs. Give them some pie crusts. So we took some of the funds from our Hope and from grant funds and wherever we could, and we bought pie crusts, Those are the type of things of, okay, if we're going to give noodles, you got to give spaghetti sauce. If you're going to match this, you got to match it with that. So we try to be very mindful of what all is going on our curbside. On average, our food comes, as I mentioned, through Second Harvest. It comes from food drives that your church might do a food drive and we drop it off to the food pantry. I mentioned grant. We also have a food recovery program, which I'll also get to, but we typically rescue about 2 million pounds of food that would otherwise go into the landfill and produce methane gas, and that produces all sorts of other issues. We also give out more than just pantry food supplies. It's also cleaning supplies, it's toiletries, it might be kind of a roundabout of things. But we ask, well, if you can't come to the food pantry during the hours that we're open and participate in the drive-through, how do you get your food? Well, Monday tends to be our prep day. The pantry is then open Tuesday through Friday. Wednesdays we're open until 6, otherwise like noon to 6. Otherwise, we're open kind of 10 to 3. Well, middle of the day, what happens if you work those hours? Most of our clients work at least one job, if not 2 or 3, to try to make ends meet. So Pantry Express was developed to offer groceries on a Saturday. And currently, our Pantry Express is the 3rd Saturday of the month. And we only count households and individuals. We do not have the standard registration process. There are a number of reasons for that, because what happens if you are an individual who has mental health issues and are paranoid about giving out your address and are therefore not coming to our food pantry because you have to give an address? They still deserve food. What happens if you are a single mother down at Days, the domestic abuse intervention services that are just down the street on North Sherman, and are scared to death about giving out your address for fear that it could be leaked. You still deserve food. We feel that food is a right, not a privilege. So we came up with Saturday hours. Now, we had a couple of graduate students at UW that were kind of mulling over the same thing. And they said, well, what happens if the food pantry's closed? Holiday, evenings, nights, or weekends? Food now. And they devised a food locker system so that if you still have to have a phone, it's not a perfect world, that you can get an email with a code to a locker, and you can get an emergency amount of very shelf-stable food. Now, this is not a week's worth of groceries. This is like overnight or a day. Dry cereal, shelf-stable milk or juice, beef jerky, fruit cups. It might be a soup in a non-metal can, because we found, well, when it's really hot, that stuff is actually cooking in the can in the lockers. And when it's freezing outside, you need food that's not going to freeze. And some of these people are homeless, and you need food that you don't necessarily need to cook. Or maybe you can swing through a gas station and heat up in a microwave. So Pantry Express and Food Now was born. Well, what happens? We do a lot of what ifs. What happens if I don't have a car? I can't drive medically, physically. What happens if I don't have the community support around me where someone else can either drive me or someone else can even go as my proxy? So we have River Delivers. This is a volunteer program where we have approximately 40 drivers that will pick up groceries for individuals and drive them all around Dane County. We would love to expand this program. There is often a wait list, but we don't have the space, we don't have the room. We typically have over 60 orders a week in order to get people food that are not getting it someplace else. In 2024, we completed 3,122 grocery deliveries. And not by staff, all by volunteers. Okay, well, we hear a lot of testimonials. Your groceries save my family's lives. When I come to the River Food Pantry, I don't feel judged. All really good things. But we also know that lower socioeconomic individuals tend to have higher health issues. Has anyone, and maybe when you go grocery shopping, think about what you purchase. Low sodium, no sugar, gluten-free, dairy-free, specialty pantry items, comfort food. All those specialty things cost more. So typically, even though my doctor says you should be on a low sodium diet for your heart, they don't do that because that's more expensive. They're going to take the cheaper, or what we tend to get donated is the standard. So we've created the e-pantry where once a month a household can order, and this has some different pantries. So it has nutritional and cultural items. Nutritional might be those that I just mentioned: low sodium, low sugar, no sugar, sugar-free, dairy-free, gluten-free. But it might also be culturally specific, because even though in this room we all could list off some of our cultural background, ethnic backgrounds, my guess is we're going to be probably about the same type of pantry supplies. It certainly would look different than a Black family from Nigeria or a kosher Jewish family or a family from Jordan who is Muslim. And really, in order to follow the tenets of their faith, their meat should be halal. Those things cost way more. So we work with community liaisons to find out what are some of those key pantry items so that the e-pantry can be stocked. Now, these things are not donated, or very rarely donated. So these are items that sometimes Second Harvest might have, but mostly the e-pantry is funded through grants. Our redistribution community partners. Once in a while, we get an overabundance of items that we are just not going to be able to redistribute to our clients in a timely manner. And so Second Harvest has approved that we can redistribute to organizations that are smaller or small enough that they might not be Second Harvest partners themselves. I'm talking about Tellurian, Porchlight, the Beacon, the Warner Park Men's Shelter. Those are just an example. We actually have 25, 26 different community partners throughout the area. Now, when pre-COVID, we actually had a carrying closet where we had some small household items and some clothing. This is not competing with Goodwill or St. Vinny's. It's come in and school's going to start and let's see if we can get the kids a pair of shoes. Or winter's coming, we just got a bunch of coats donated from Target. How about we get you a new coat? Warner Park's Men's Shelter will often call us and say, do you got any men's underwear or socks, hats, scarves, basics, pullovers, sweatshirts? Those are really popular. Now, since COVID, we don't have a carrying closet. So our clients don't come in and go shopping in that way. However, when we pick up through our recovery program, Walmart, Target, number of those type of stores, they have what's called a Gaylord, which is this really big cardboard container. Stands about this high, probably 5 feet across, 4 feet deep or so. And they will put donations throughout their store, which means it could be bagged salads, it could be prepared meals in containers, it could also be bags of underwear and socks and dishes and a soda stream that someone returned, and so they're just going to donate it. Random. We get all kinds of. That's almost like one of those bingo cards. Okay, have we gotten a trampoline yet? Yes. Last summer we got a trampoline. What are we going to do with a trampoline? We give it to our community partners. So when Road Home calls us and says, we have 2 families that we just got housed, but they have nothing. What do you got? And Amanda goes to her area of the shelves and says, well, we got some dishes and we got some sheets and, we got a box fan. Okay, it's going to be summer soon. Give them a fan. It's not a lot, but when you got nothing, a little bit is a lot. And when you're working as a community, that they're picking up things from the river, they're picking up things from other donors. Together, we can create a home for this family. So that's part of our redistribution program and our community partners. In our new building, we are going to have a caring closet again. We'll still work with our community partners. May look a little different, may morph. Just like over the last 19 years, the river will keep a pulse on what the needs of the community are, and we will evolve and change depending on what those needs are. Once upon a time, our world kind of seems to be always pre-COVID, post-COVID. Pre-COVID, we had a dining room. People would come in to shop. They go to the pantry. They go to the caring closet. They could sit down as a community and have a hot meal. COVID, can't come in. We still feel that a meal is still important. We have volunteers that come in and they are fabulous at putting together our meals now. So we have a kitchen staff. They design the menu. They kind of cook most of it. Mondays, I mentioned, are prep days. If you come in to volunteer, you might slice and dice, vegetables for coming up. And we put together kind of an assembly line of containers where a family can now pick up a serving for everyone in their household. So now we're feeding the whole family again, not just the one individual that came in for a meal. We also think that our meals are a visual educational tool of what we feel a nutritious meal should look like. So we're giving them all the pantry ingredients. Now here's an example. So protein, carb, veggie, there's normally a side, a couple slices of fruit, a side salad. We always have a meat and a vegetarian option. And, for the 3-year-olds in the back of the car, we also offer PB&J and a snack bag. So, we try to keep everyone covered. This has become one of our most popular programs. You get it when you still go through curbside. And we thought, well, post-pandemic, people will want to come back in, right? They will want to come back in to shop. They said, no, please, keep the curbside. So when we've designed our new building, the new facility, it's going to have a full drive-through. Think about like when you get your oil change. Garage doors go up. 6 cars will be able to go in, 2 lines. Garage doors can come down if the weather is really bad. No one has to be out in the elements. Safer for volunteers, for staff, and for clients. Over the last 5 years or so, we've dealt with awnings. We've dealt with, the accordion pop-up shade tents that blow away when the wind is really rough. Because the pantry is open when it's raining, when it's sleeting, when it's 98 degrees and more than that humidity. The volunteers that come through are dedicated to making sure that our families are being fed. And we could not operate without our volunteers. But again, what happens when you're out of school, you can't come to the food pantry, and you live in one of those food deserts, if you remember the map earlier. So we had a van that we used to drive to some of those neighborhoods, and we'd give out a sandwich and a snack bag. Kind of like mobile meal ice cream truck without the corny music coming through. Although some of the drivers have been known to have a secret code horn beep, pattern. We go to neighborhood centers. We go to local libraries. We go to parking lots of apartment building complexes. We go to a corner that has been designated that are approximately around this time period on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're going to be able to have a snack or maybe a meal. We call it Munch. And it's been around for, a number of years. And as you can imagine, it's grown. It's also grown that in Dane County, it's considered 1 out of 5 children have food insecurity. We wrote a grant during COVID that allowed us to add some extra produce in the van. So as they packed up the sandwiches and the snack bags, they'd fill a couple of crates with, we got extra cucumbers and we got extra bananas. And do you realize that onions, pretty much every culture uses onions in the variety of meals. So, okay, if we got them, we throw those in. They were better than the candy. So now it's a staple. And now our food truck, don't have a picture here. If you go on our website, you'll see the new food truck. Because it's not just a van where at the side door, you can get your snack bag and your produce, and at the back of the truck, we got sandwiches. This is an actual food truck with an awning and a counter and windows that open up. And in the summer, there's a freezer section that we can hand out icy pops. And there's also a hot box that hot dogs are really popular. Something basic, but we can still give them a little something else other than the sandwiches. And now we've been able to up it that they get their choice of, 2 sandwiches. It can be PB&J, it can be ham and turkey, it can be ham and cheese. And the bread is whatever we got on hand that's been donated. Most of the time it's your regular sandwich bread. But once in a while, we've been known to get some cases of croissants or something like that, and we'll slice, and then maybe we'll get fancy. We'll put tomatoes and lettuce and sprouts, or, because we've also found that there are more and more adults that are coming to pick up than just kids. In 2024, we served 59,300 meals. There are a lot of people in our community that need our help. We are very fortunate that we can eat 2, 3 meals a day, maybe a snack here and there, or we're out and about doing errands and we're going to swing by through a drive-through and pick up something to drink. There is a huge population in our community, maybe even our neighbors. They don't want you to know, because not everyone feels that they can go to a food pantry. They feel like a failure. They feel judged. Why can't I support my family? I should be able, at this point in my life, to be able to at least feed my family or to feed myself. I have my own story. During COVID, we found more middle-class individuals that were in a situation, they got laid off from jobs closed, everyone was working from home or not. These were individuals that were used to giving, donating to places like a food pantry, other social services. They were used to volunteering at these places. They had no idea how to actually sign up for services. I came to volunteer at the River when I got laid off. And it took one of the staff to say, "Hey, how are you doing? What are you doing for food?" Do you come pick up? Wait, you would be eligible. Oh, no, no, no. I'm fine. Are you sure? Well, things are getting kind of bare. Well, after your shift, just swing around. Why don't you pick it up? I cried. No one had asked me how I was doing. I was coming there for a couple of weeks because that was something I knew how to do. I knew how to volunteer. You don't want your neighbors to know that you're struggling, but it takes someone who has the courage to say, how are you doing? Are you okay? How can I support you? Times are tough. And you know what? Times are tough again. We are in a society, we are in an age where, man, my grandparents went through the Great Depression. They're not around anymore, but I have some friends that still have grandparents that have gone through the Great Depression. But within the 2000s, we have seen a major recession. We have seen a global pandemic. And honestly, we haven't named what we're going through right now, but we're going through something. People are scared. People are hungry for more than just food. They are hungry to feel empowered, to be encouraged, to feel important, and to feel respected. These are all things that we feel very strongly at the River Food Pantry. Whether you are a volunteer, a donor, a client, a staff member, a general community member, we want everyone to realize that all are welcome. But in order to do all of this, we need volunteers. We go through more than 40 individuals a day doing 2-hour shifts in order to get our core programs done. We have about 28 staff, full part-time. It's heavy on staff when you think about some of the food pantries in town that are totally run on volunteers or have just a handful of staff. Well, 6 years ago, the river had 9 staff. Now we have 28. Even then, we still feel that we are a skeleton crew compared to trying to fulfill these 8 programs. These are the outward facing. I'm in development. So my staff only work on the pantry floor or out at curbside when, say, we don't have enough volunteers. Or there's a company that signed up for 6 volunteer slots but didn't show up. Well, then Helen, our director of operations, or our pantry manager will come to the back and knock on the door and say, look, we need your help. But that means that I'm not making donor calls. That means that Becca is not getting out our e-newsletter or our other communication. It means Ryan's not working on another grant. So as much as we value our outward client-facing programs, our back office is also equally as important. And we work hard to support all of these other programs that are going out. Now, you lovely folk that have come here this morning say, well, this is great. Love the updates. What's happening? We already do a lot. Thank you. Thank you for everything you do, whether it's for the river, whether it's to St. Mark's, whether it's to the cause that deepens your heart and pulls your heartstrings. But I'm here to talk about the river. So we need people to come in and make the fam meals and to hand them out. We need people to travel with the munch truck and help pass out those mobile meals or come in and make sandwiches. We need folks and groups to do food drives and do collections. Maybe you decide that your book group is going to read, Guernsey sweet potato pie, and then you're going to do the ingredients for a variety of pies and donate that. We had a company that just did a pasta drive. So pick your favorite noodles and your favorite sauce, be it tomato or Alfredo or pesto or something else, and put that together. And they brought in a lot. It was so wonderful to be able to get that donation picked up. Or maybe it's a soup drive. Be creative. We've got another church that does cakes. So they do a cake mix, frosting, kind of a birthday in a bag, some wrapping paper, a bow, so a present, some candles, and what you need to bake a cake. It can be fun. We try to keep our operation and overhead expenses as low as possible. We have consistently, over the years, been able to say that 95 cents of every dollar goes directly to programming. So that means that we're having an operational budget on 5 cents of every dollar that comes in to pay for our salaries for our employees and benefits and currently rent, electricity, all of those things. We are outgrowing our current building then. When you came even pre-COVID, you probably saw that we were on top of each other. And now there are more shelving in the dining room, and the caring closet is now the location for the e-pantry and community partners. We have storage on top of makeshift office areas. And so we have a capital campaign that we are just wrapping up. If you haven't contributed to it yet, please think about it. We are $55,000 away from completing our $12 million goal. You tend to be more kind of central west side, but I urge you to take a drive up Packers, out by the airport, and do it before June. Because now you can see the beams of the building, and you can see kind of the shape of what's going to be there. Then come back around end of June, July, later this summer, and you'll see the walls go up. This last 2 weeks, we just got the roof. It's going to be about 3 times the size. Staff will actually have workspaces. Right now, the majority of our staff have nowhere to put their own backpacks and coats and whatnot. The volunteer lounge has been taken over by a reception area. They will actually have a volunteer lounge again that they can hang their coat and put their things and have an area for information. The pantry will be expanded. We will be able to have similar coolers to Second Harvest, which we have been coveting, where there's actually racks of shelves inside the cooler with a forklift that you can store and pack. We will sometimes get donations, offers for donations, that right now we have to turn away. We could get it out, but we have no place to store it or to put it. we will then have the space for that. We'll also have kind of the best of pre-pandemic and the best of post-pandemic. We'll get the caring closet back again. We'll also have a dining room again with a big buffet line. And the kitchen is really excited because they're going all electric, which will be supported by solar panels. They also are going to have a dish room to wash dishes so that the spray of the water doesn't necessarily get all over. And they'll have more than a 2-burner stove and 1 oven. We currently cook all of these meals roughly on 2 burners and 1 industrial oven. So think what we can do with a full commercial kitchen. We currently have 2 large tables that the volunteers make all the meals. We're going to have 6. What this also means is that we'll have space and room and opportunity to maybe bring our clients in and volunteers for a basic knife safety, or how about nutritional snacks, or how about a teen class on how to make some simple dinners that they could start for their families. We will have 2 classrooms that our community partners will be able to reserve so that when the Tenant Resource Center gets a grant to help clients pay their rent in the arrears, they don't have to just sit at the table in the dining room and inform. They can actually have confidential meetings with people. Same thing with Journey Mental Health. Might have Summit Credit Union come in and do one of their financial literacy classes. The sky's the limit of what we can do to support our community. Even better, even bolder. But we can't do any of that without support. We have to act as a community to support those that need us the most. And for that, I know why I do what I do every day when we do our surveys and we get comments like this. These are in our clients' words. You can't imagine, or maybe you can, if you volunteered at the river or a place like this, when someone just says thank you for what you think is a very basic thing. It does your heart good. I know that I come into work and I'm trying to raise money and funds and resources so that we can feed people every day. And that builds our community. It means that kids can go to school and concentrate on learning. It means that someone can maybe focus on their job. All sorts of things. But at this point, I want to know if you've all been very quiet. I've tried to pause a few times, but what other questions do you have? Or comments?
Oh, come on, we're not usually this quiet.
Thank you. I'm wondering, given the times we are in now, what are you expecting in terms of numbers? Because my thought is they're going to increase substantially. And I'm wondering what your projections are and what the projections are of the other pantries, like Way Forward, et cetera.
Yeah, we are expecting continued increase and are asking ourselves the question, how are we going to be able to continue to give out what we can? Some of, when you can cut your expenses only so far, then you have to cut back on your program. Several years ago, we used to average anywhere from 55 to 65 pounds of groceries that went out to each family. Now we're averaging about 45 pounds. Pantry Express on Saturday used to be every other Saturday. Now it's once a month. So at this point, we are not canceling programs. We are not laying off staff, but we are giving a little less. We are giving a half dozen of eggs, not a full dozen of eggs. On the revenue side, we are trying our best to get the word out. We have additional campaigns. So our three main revenue campaigns, direct mail, our spring, we just did March, is our Match Madness. And that went for cereal. We used to get cereal donated all the time, and now we rarely get cereal. Cereal's gone up in price. But it's also one of those things that kids can fix themselves. It's a meal, it's a snack, it's easy, shelf stable. So we did a cereal drive. This summer, you may see our kind of summer for all food everyone deserves to eat, and kids are home from school, and they tend to snack the cupboard dry. So we're going to be raising funds and doing food drive collections for snacks, because that's something that we don't often get a lot donated, and clients request. That would be an easy thing to just cut. So we're going to try to do a separate campaign for that so that we're not spending as much on it directly. We're also doing other things like Mother's Day cards. You have until tomorrow. If you have a woman in your life, might be mom, might not, that has been inspirational to you, for $25, the River will send her a card. Stay tuned. Father's Day is coming up. We have something similar for fathers, or the inspirational mentoring men in your life. This is not going to raise as much money as our fall campaign, Hope, Help Other People Eat. That's our holiday groceries and all. But it is something, because we do anticipate numbers will continue to rise, and we're trying to figure out, if numbers are going up and you have more people coming through, how do we still give them a reasonable amount of nutritious food and still support our operations and staff? And some of that is building a new building so that we can have more people come through in a more efficient process. What's the answer? I don't have an answer of why, but yes, sir.
Two questions. One is, your grant program, do you depend primarily on government grants or non-government grants?
Very good question. It's a mixture, certainly. Majority of our grants are from foundations that are private. So it might be a family foundation, it might be a company's foundation that they give through. We do have some government grants that we have been able to access kind of through the pandemic. Some of those relationships, like Dane County, City of Madison, those relationships will continue. We did apply for and were approved for a $3 million federal grant that went towards the construction of the new building. Touch and go. Early this year, we had a signed contract. That normally would mean, okay, it's budgeted, it's allocated, it's contracted, we're in. There are a lot of those grants that the federal government currently said, we're not paying it. Our Wisconsin HUD office are fabulous people. If you know anyone there, give them a hug and a kiss for me, because they have been getting our reimbursements out within a couple of weeks, within 3 days. This last one was within a day. We were notified that the check was being processed. One more.
One more question. Could you say a little more about the collection of food from restaurants and so forth?
Yeah, so from restaurants in particular, it depends on the restaurant and if we can use it to feed our staff or core volunteers for lunch. Most of our recovery comes from 16 different Quick Trips, from Walmart, from Targets, from Metcalf, so various grocery stores and department stores. That's where we get the 2 million plus pounds of recovery food. We also work with a company called Atlantis Foods. We have a contract with them. They make sandwiches, salads, quick snacks, yogurt parfaits, fruit cups, soups, that sort of things, roll-ups, and package them for company cafeteria. So where a company might used to have a kitchen of their own, they now contract out better than vending services, but a similar type program. When the best use by date is done, companies like that, Quick Trips, etc., they have two choices. They can either throw it away, and it's perfectly good food, or they can donate it. And we are grateful to accept those donations because we can turn it around and get it out to people. Restaurant leftovers or festival leftovers are a little trickier because of food safety regulations. Sometimes we can work with it and sometimes we have to turn it away. Anything else? My information is in the back. There are reminders for Sips and Slices, our fall annual fundraiser. We have a save the date, September 14th. We have the Mother's Day cards. We have information about our capital campaign and a general brochure on just ways to support, kind of a mini recap of this presentation. You think of another question later, feel free to contact us. Feel free to give me a call or an email. Emily's got my information as well. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And yeah, come back next week and hear from Emily and Nan for an update on the remodeling project.